The late afternoon sun filtered through the sheer curtains of the cosy suburban home, casting soft golden light onto the living room floor. Emma sat cross-legged on the carpet, her heart pounding as she stared at the stack of papers spread before her. What she had just discovered felt surreal, impossible even. Her stepmother, Chloe, the seemingly sweet and soft-spoken woman her father had married a year ago, wasn't who she claimed to be. At first, Emma had brushed aside the little things, the way Chloe's stories about her past didn't quite add up, the way her smile seemed just a little too forced when her father wasn't around. But this was undeniable. Hidden in a locked drawer in Chloe's home office, Emma had stumbled upon documents, bank statements, passports under multiple names, and worst of all, a meticulously detailed plan to access her father's accounts and siphon his savings. The financial ruin Chloe was plotting was laid out in black and white, and Emma couldn't stop her hands from trembling as she held the evidence. The front door creaked open, jolting her out of her thoughts. Her father, Daniel, walked in, his face lighting up when he saw her. "Hey, kiddo," he greeted, dropping his briefcase by the door. His grey-streaked hair was slightly messy from the wind, and his tie was loosened around his neck. "You're home early? Everything okay?" Emma hesitated, the words lodging in her throat. She'd always had a close bond with her dad, especially after her mom passed away when she was 12. It had always been the two of them against the world until Chloe entered their lives. Now, Emma wasn't sure if Daniel would believe her, and the thought of losing his trust terrified her. "Dad," she began, her voice shaky, "we need to talk." Daniel frowned, sensing the weight behind her words. He walked over and sat down on the couch, looking at her with concern. "What's wrong, Emma?" She inhaled deeply, gathering her courage. "It's Chloe. She's not who she says she is. I found things in her office." She gestured to the papers on the floor. "She's planning to steal from you, Dad. She's been lying to us this whole time." For a moment, Daniel didn't react. His expression was unreadable, and the silence stretched between them heavy and suffocating. "Emma," he said finally, his tone careful, "this is a serious accusation. Are you sure you're not overthinking things? Chloe loves me. She loves us. She's lying, Dad!" Emma interrupted, her voice rising with frustration. She shoved the documents toward him. "Look for yourself. Bank statements under different names. Fake IDs. She's been planning this for months." Daniel picked up the papers, his brow furrowing as he scanned them. The colour drained from his face, but still he shook his head. This doesn't make sense. There has to be an explanation. Chloe wouldn't do this." Emma's stomach twisted. "Dad, you have to believe me. I know you love her, but she's not who you think she is. She's dangerous." Just then, a shadow fell across the room. They both turned to see Chloe standing in the doorway, her shopping bags dangling from one hand. Her green eyes flicked between the two of them, then to the papers scattered on the floor. Her smile faltered. "What's going on here?" Chloe asked, her voice unnervingly calm. Daniel stood, holding the papers in his hand. "Chloe, what is this?" His voice wavered, a mix of disbelief and anger. Chloe's expression shifted, the mask of sweetness slipping just enough to reveal a flicker of something cold and calculating. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said smoothly, though her knuckles whitened as she tightened her grip on the shopping bags. "Don't lie!" Emma shot back, standing to face her. "We know what you've been planning. Dad's seen the evidence." Chloe's eyes narrowed, and for a moment Emma could see the gears turning in her head. Then she dropped the bags and stepped forward, her demeanour shifting entirely. The kindness was gone, replaced by icy disdain. "You shouldn't have gone through my things, Emma," Chloe said, her voice low and venomous. "You've always been a nosy little girl, haven't you?" Daniel stepped between them, his protective instincts kicking in. "Chloe, stop. Whatever's going on here, we need to talk about it." But Chloe wasn't interested in talking. She lunged for the papers still in Daniel's hand, her polished veneer completely shattered. "You don't understand," she hissed. "I've worked too hard for this. You wouldn't have even noticed if it weren't for her." Emma's heart raced as chaos erupted. Daniel tried to push Chloe away, his voice firm as he demanded answers, but Chloe's desperation made her reckless. She grabbed a heavy vase from the coffee table and swung it, narrowly missing Daniel's head. Emma acted on instinct. She snatched her phone from the table and dialed 911, her fingers trembling as she relayed the situation to the dispatcher. "We need the police," she said, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her. "My stepmother's threatening my dad. Please hurry." The sound of approaching sirens cut through the tension minutes later. Chloe froze, the realization of what was happening dawning on her. She tried to bolt for the door, but Daniel grabbed her arm, holding her in place until the officers arrived. The aftermath was a blur. Chloe was arrested. The evidence Emma had found sealed her fate, and the nightmare that had hung over their family for months was finally over. But the emotional toll lingered. That evening, after the police had left and the house had fallen quiet, Daniel sat on the couch, his head in his hands. Emma hesitated in the doorway, unsure of what to say. She'd never seen her father look so defeated. "Dad?" she said softly, walking over to sit beside him. He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. "I'm so sorry, Emma," he said, his voice breaking. "I should have listened to you. I should have seen it." Emma placed a hand on his arm, her touch gentle but firm. "It's not your fault. She fooled both of us. But we're okay now. We're going to be okay." Daniel pulled her into a hug, holding her tightly as though she might slip away. "I don't know what I'd do without you, kiddo," he murmured. "You don't have to find out," Emma replied, her voice soft but full of conviction. "We're in this together, Dad, always." In that moment, the bond between them felt stronger than ever. They had weathered the storm and come out the other side, scarred but unbroken. And as Emma sat there wrapped in her father's embrace, she felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time.